Well, welcome back, race fans, to another episode of Doug and Drivers. And this one's a pretty special one, actually. When you get a chance to talk to a guy who's led more laps than anybody in the history at the Indianapolis 500, it's the second most winningest driver in IndyCar history as well. In fact, I was thinking about the laps led at the Speedway. You've led twice as many laps as your nearest active competitor. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Dixon, Indy 500 winner, finished third last year. I know that's not exactly where you wanted to be, but you started 21st.
Yeah.
And you came through the field, and you probably were sitting back going, okay, Pato and Joseph, go have your fun.
I was hoping for a different outcome and maybe, not wishing anybody to crash, but maybe they could have had an altercation that, leaped us to the front. But, I think, with the most laps led, unfortunately not many of them done at the right time, which is always, tough. But, last year's race was fantastic, man. It was definitely a battle for us. We didn't really have the speed all month as a group, and we gave it our all. And to get a third for me, and obviously a fifth for Alex was huge.
When did you have an idea last year that you might have a shot? Because I know you started 21st. You're usually one of those guys that's in the fast 12, and you had to start there in the back. But you sort of work your way through, and about lap 130-ish or so, you actually find yourself in the lead. At that point in time, do you think you have a shot, or when do you really think you have a car that maybe, if everything rolled together right, you could win the race?
I think you never really think you're out of it, right? There's no point doing a race if you never think you're going to have the chance to win it. And obviously, there's always a ton of strategies. It probably wouldn't have been that early on, but I think later on, right before the last caution, we were in a great spot. We were ahead on fuel consumption. We wouldn't have had to save. There was a few guys around us that were close, but they were going to have to save. So I think if it had gone green from that point on, we would have been definitely in the right position to try and win, or at least have a great shot at it. But, the dogfight at the end, we just didn't have the speed. Both those two, and even Alex Rossi were very fast. We just didn't have the straight-out speed. So that was frustrating, but, still in a good spot.
So you hear that a lot from drivers, we don't have the speed. When you're talking that, you're not talking 10 miles an hour. You're talking still marginal amounts, correct?
Yeah. The hardest part, I think, for me last year was, they were kind of tussling, going back and forth, and I was flat the whole time, just on the gas. Just trying to keep up, even in the draft, which you normally gain 2-3 miles an hour in speed that pulls you around just with having no drag. But that was a tough part. But you're talking such small amounts when you're saying that you didn't have the speed, and that was kind of us all month.
So when do you realize that? I mean, do you realize that just looking at the time charts, or can you tell it when you're literally behind somebody?
You can tell it pretty early on. Obviously the first practice, depends on trim levels and all that kind of stuff. But I think once you start to go into no-toe laps, it paints a picture. We have so much data coming in that, immediately you can see. But it's always that first 4-lap run that you do, even in practice. Mm-hmm. If you're not near the top, you're like, okay, we've got a little bit of work to do. You hope you can immediately jump to the top, and then, I've had weeks like that, days at the Speedway like that, where you just have so much speed, and, those moments definitely put a smile on your face.
So 22 Indianapolis 500s this year will be 23. Last year was a unique one. We had to wait out some rain. And we went almost to sunset. From a driver's standpoint, what'd you do during the rain, and then did the sun setting impact you at all? It's not because the sun got in your eyes, but because it's just such a different feeling than maybe we've ever had at the Speedway.
Yeah, I think with the Indianapolis 500, that week leading up to it is kind of long. You get a little bit of time in the car on, carb day and pit stop comps and things like that. It's definitely the most stressful part of the month, just because you're talking about the race. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. This person's going to, nobody really knows. You just want to get after it. So for me, kind of getting to race day and seeing that weather coming, you're like, oh, I just want to get out there and race. That's all of us want to do, is see what today is going to bring. And there's a lot of antics going on, and gasoline alley, and people in the rain, and just chilled out. Probably ate way too much food along the way. Took a nap. Maybe might have taken 2 or 3 naps at that point, but it was kind of cool actually, where the end of the race was, and just with the sun setting and things like that. Visually, it looked pretty cool, even from the car.
Right. It felt like, and I think that also probably helped the competition, right? The cooler temperatures right there at the end of the day, and it just seemed like those last 100 miles for sure were just an epic.
Super fast, the cars, definitely work well in those kind of colder conditions, especially after a rainfall like that.
Absolutely. So you've started, like you said, 22. This will be 23. 12 people have started over 20 in our 800 plus drivers who have competed in the Indy 500. So it's a pretty rare piece. AJ made it to 35.
Oh,
So
that's
that'd
a
put
lot.
you like at 57-ish, which is about the age that AJ retired. So think you can hang around that long?
I don't know. It sounds like a bit of a bet right there. I think we could try to pull that off. But yeah, that maybe in modern day that could be pretty tough. But hey, I'm up for the challenge.
Yeah,
Let's go.
absolutely. So you get a chance now to kick off the season. You got the NTT INDYCAR season, your 6 championships. You got the 58 wins. AJ at 67. I know you probably at one point in time thought, I'll never even get to Mario at 52.
Yeah.
And then you passed that, and he was so gracious about that. Is the AJ thing there, or is it far enough away right now that you're just letting it be?
It's always possible, but it is it is quite a ways away. That's a tough number to try and get to at this point, and especially with the competition. I only had a couple of wins last year. The champion of the series with Alex only had a couple of wins. So gone are the years, I think, where you had maybe 6 wins in a season. That would make it obviously a lot more achievable. Hopefully we can do that this year. But no, you keep knocking on the door, and right now I just love doing what I'm doing, and I love racing IndyCar. It's such a fantastic series. The Indy 500, the biggest race in the world. There's no downsides to it. So I'll keep trying, and we'll keep trying to win and see where that takes us, but we'll keep knocking, man.
So I grew up watching the Indy 500 in the era of AJ Foyt and the Unsers and Mario, and that was such a romantic era and was so competitive. And I've gotten to see you race your whole career, right? Because I was at Panther Racing when you first started running in 2003 and come in and win the championship. And we knew you were great. And this may not be a comfortable conversation for you, but really stepping back from that, we're living in an era where you are literally one of the greatest race car drivers of all time. And I was thinking a little bit about today. You're also in an era where right now it's really competitive. Will Power, who's 4th on win list, is right there in the 40s. You've got Joseph Newgarden over 30. You've got these great race car drivers, Alex Palou coming along. It's almost like if I were younger again following this era, it is an amazing era of competition with unbelievably talented IndyCar drivers.
Yeah, I agree. I think the competition level is maybe the greatest ever. I think just the margins you're talking, that era, there were still, races won by laps,
right.
Whereas, you're talking hundredths of a second or a couple of seconds here or there, for even covering a whole field is very tiny, I think a majority of the time now you get over 25 cars that finish on the lead lap at the Indy 500. So, yeah, it's intense, obviously. Their mechanical dramas that they had in those days were, a lot more than we deal with these days right now. But yeah, I feel lucky to be in the time that I am. But I always think about, man, it would be so much fun to actually race in that era as well with AJ Foyt, with Mario. It would just be insane. So I don't know. I really enjoy IndyCar right now, and what they're bringing is just insane.
So you've seen a lot. What about the Fox thing? It's pretty cool, I think.
It's been amazing, just some of the commercial stuff they've put out so far. I think, the involvement that they've had even from kind of mid-season, in 24, coming to the track, seeing what people want, what they think will do better, they're really engaged. So I think this Fox deal is going to be huge for the sport.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Yeah. So there you have it, fans. Indy 500 winner, 2nd most wins in all-time IndyCar racing, led more laps at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway than anybody, 44 years old, and still racing like a rookie, ready to go, pick up some more wins. Can't wait to see you out there. Nobody would love more than our fans seeing Scott Dixon pick up win number 2 in the 109th running of the Indy 500 presented by Gamebridge, coming up soon.
Let's go.